Welcome to the weekly Parsha Shir, sponsored by the UJA in memory of the Yidden who were murdered on Simchas Torah, October 7th, and for the success of the soldiers and the well-being of the Jewish people in Israel, all around the world, and the immediate, speedy coming of Mashiach. This week is a special Shir as we are finally starting the shir in the Chabad House's new property. May it grow and be even more successful and even better and greater. This week's Parsha is actually combined of two Torah portions this week. The first one is the Parsha of Achrei. The second one is Mot-Kedoshim. In English, that is, the first one discusses after the death of Aaron, his two sons, God instructed Moses to instruct Aaron a special order of how and when he can enter into the Holy of Holies. The Torah then goes on to tell us the entire order of the special day, one day in the year, that Aaron would enter into the Holy of Holies. There's a whole order of events, exactly which offerings he would bring that day, and how exactly he would bring them. And then the Torah goes on to discuss different laws related to the sanctity, the holiness of the Jewish people, the marriages that are permitted and not permitted. And that is the brief run through the Parsha. Again, the main chunk of the Parsha, the beginning of the Parsha, discusses the order of the events on Yom Kippur, the Holy of Holies. We're going to focus on one particular verse that is mentioned. This is in the Torah. That is mentioned in the Torah portion. And that is about the offering that the high he would bring. One offering he would bring for himself. Another offering he would bring on behalf of the whole Jewish nation. The offering he would bring for himself, confess, leaning on that cow twice. One time he would confess for the entire priesthood family. And the first time, actually, he would confess particularly to atone for himself. However, the Torah says when he confesses and gets atonement for himself, the Torah says he should atone for himself and for his home. What does that mean, for himself and for his home? So the commentary, the Talmud, tells us that what does it mean to atone for his home? That means to atone for his wife. That's the meaning of atoning for his home. So to put things in perspective here, he actually has to be married. In order to atone for his home, he needs to be married. Which the high priest, of course, every person is instructed to marry. That's a mitzvah that every person has. Yet, because we'll talk about that for the reason, yet, although every person has to marry, we don't find a rule that in order for a person to, a priest, for example, in order to serve in the Holy Temple, we don't find a condition that he needs to be married. Furthermore, the high priest himself, we don't find a condition that he needs to be married in order to become a high priest. Yet, to be a high priest on the holy day of Yom Kippur and serving in the Holy of Holies, then he does need to be married in order to serve on that day.
Oh, yeah?
Furthermore,
He has to have
if
children already?
no, he doesn't have to have children. He needs to be married. We don't find that he needs to have children. Furthermore, if he's not married, not only he needs to be married, it will actually stop him and it will disqualify his service on that day. To the extent that there's actually an opinion that says that not only does he need to be married, we need to have a second wife prepared for him in the event that heaven forbid. No, prepared. In the event that heaven forbid his wife will pass away, just in case, heaven forbid, we have another one ready. That's not the halacha.
It could even be her
That's
sister.
not the. It's not the final ruling. It's not the final ruling. At the end, we rule that it's enough if he's married. We don't have to have a second one prepared. But it teaches us the importance that Torah gives for this matter, that he needs to atone for his home for his wife. Now, why is this puzzling? We'll first finish the background, then we'll take some questions. Why is this puzzling? Of course, it's a mitzvah, it's a commandment to marry and to have children. Yet, specifically on the day of Holy and Holies, that's a day that forbidden relations are forbidden for everyone. Furthermore, the high priest himself, it is actually written in the Mishnah that he would separate from his wife 7 days before Yom Kippur. He wasn't even able to be with his wife. For everyone is forbidden to be with their wives on the day of Kippur, and the high priest from 7 days before. And yet, if he's not married, if he doesn't have a wife, his service is disqualified. It's a condition that needs to be in order to serve on the day of the Holy of Holies, in the Holy of Holies, he needs to be married, he needs to have a wife. So what exactly is going on here? Are we saying that this is the greatest ideal and it needs to be, or we're saying that no, this is a day of holiness, this is a day of separation from worldly matters, it's a day of elevation, and there's no room for marriage? What is going on here? That is the part that we're going to focus. Now, when we talk about Yom Kippur, we mentioned a number of times. We have the written Torah, that's the Chumash, and then we have the oral Torah, which was later written in what is known as the Mishnah and more elaborated in the Talmud. There's an entire tractate, an entire section that discusses all of the laws of Yom Kippur. It's called the Tractate of Yuma, the holy day, the day of Yom Kippur. And what we just spoke about is the very first paragraph, the very first Mishnah in the Tractate of Yuma, discusses this commandment that the high priest must atone for himself and for his family, for his home, which means his wife. In the Bible, it says for his home. We don't know what that means. And the Mishnah teaches us that that means for his wife. That is the first section, the first Mishnah of the tractate.
Can a Kohen Gadol be a Kohen Gadol and not have a wife?
He has a mitzvah to marry, but specifically on Yom Kippur, his service will be disqualified if he doesn't have a wife. Otherwise, the mitzvah, he can serve and he has a mitzvah. It's like a pending commandment. He has to go ahead with it. But when it comes to Yom Kippur, if he doesn't have a wife, he can't serve on that day.
Someone else has to.
Someone else is going to have to do it, correct. So that is the first section in Yuma. I want to take you to the last one, last Mishnah in Yuma, in this tractate, and then we'll go to explain and elaborate a little more with what we started, and we'll take some questions. Why are we going to the last Mishnah? We know there's a rule in Torah, which is also a rule that we can relate to in life. The beginning and end are connected. Anyone ever, I'm sure you watched debates. There's lots of value given to the first word and to the last word. I believe sometimes the way they do it is they raffle off who's going to have the last word, who's going to have the first word, the first opening statement. but the beginning and end are where a person that's talking or an author that's writing, that is where they put their most powerful message. And therefore, we can find a connection between the beginning and the end. Therefore, we're going to go to the last Mishnah in the Tractate of Yuma. The last Mishnah in the Tractate of Yuma discusses when a person sins. Of course, he needs to do tshuva, he needs to return to God. And there's a particular day that's dedicated to tshuva. Who knows which is the one day of the year that's dedicated to tshuva?
Yom Kippur.
Yom Kippur is the day that's dedicated for repentance, for return. That's why it's in the Tractate of Kippur, of Yuma. What happens when a person sins? He needs to return, and God forgives him. Now, when it comes to sinning, there's two kinds of sins in general, two kinds of commandments. There's commandments that relate to God, tefillin, Shabbos, keeping kosher. Then there's another section of the commandments that deal with between a person and his friend, proper behavior between people. Yom Kippur atones for sins that a person committed to God. If he sinned against his friend, that's of course also sinning against God, but it's not enough to just return to God when you sinned against your friend.
How is sinning against the friend sinning against God?
Because God is the one who instructed to act properly with our friends.
Okay.
So if we do something wrong to our friend, besides for doing something wrong to our friend, we're also going against God's word.
You're not following rules.
Huh?
You're not following the
Correct.
rules. So,
but it's not enough to return to God when you sinned against your friend. You need to make sure your friend forgives you. Once your friend forgives you, then Yom Kippur can help you. That's the beginning of the last Mishnah, and this we're going to focus on the last statement. Rabbi Akiva. Anyone heard of Rabbi Akiva?
Of course.
Every now and then.
Very good.
Tell me about him.
Anyone didn't hear of Rabbi Akiva?
Here.
Rabbi Akiva, we're actually coming up to Lag BaOmer. Lag BaOmer is going to be in...
Was he born on the same day or no?
No. Lag BaOmer is going to be in 14 days, in about 2 weeks.
What is that?
Lag BaOmer is a time of celebration. There's one of the reasons of the celebration is Rabbi Akiva had 24,000 students, which unfortunately there was a plague that killed almost all of them. And on the day of Lag BaOmer, that plague stopped. Later, Rabbi Akiva didn't give up, even though all of his students died.
Did Shimon Bar Yochai die that day?
No. Later, he recruited more students. And one of those famous students were Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, the author of the Zohar. So it's a day that's connected to Rabbi Akiva. Rabbi Akiva is the one who has the last statement of this Mishnah in Yuma, the last Mishnah in the Tractate of Yom Kippur. And what does he tell us? Fortunate are you, Israel, the Jewish people. In front of who do you become pure? Who purifies you? God. And he brings a verse to prove that. A verse that says, God says, I will throw on you, I will spray on you, splash on you, holy waters, and I will make you pure. And the verse also says that God is like a mikvah. A mikvah is a pool of water. God is like a mikvah for the Jewish people.
Rainwater, no? Rainwater.
Just as a mikvah, those are details, depend. Just as a mikvah purifies those who are impure, so too God purifies you, the Jewish people. And that is the concluding statement of the Mishnah of Rabbi Akiva. He tells us, fortunate are you Jewish people, that God purifies you. As the verse says, I will spray water on you, the pure water on you, and make you... we're going to get to that soon. And then he also says, the verse also says, he brings another verse that says that God is like a mikvah for the Jewish people. Just as the mikvah purifies those who are impure, so too God purifies the Jewish people. Now, we spoke about the question. The opening question was, what was the deal with the Kohen Gadol, and why is it that he needs to be married on Yom Kippur. And before we take questions, I'm going to raise one more question, then we'll take some questions. The written Torah is written very briefly. The oral Torah is the commentary. A person gives an instruction by word. It's very short. And then he talks about it, he elaborates, and he explains. Typically, that is what happens in Torah. Torah says one sentence, which is totally unclear, put on tefillin. Where? What should the tefillin be made out of? Which materials? What should be written in the tefillin? Where on the hand? Where on the head? The oral Torah comes and elaborates, explains exactly where should he place the tefillin, what exactly shall the tefillin be made out of, and etc. Here, the Torah says he should atone, the high priest should atone for himself and for his home. And home in Hebrew is Beisai. Beisai is 4 Hebrew letters. And what does the oral Torah come and tell us? What does Beisai mean? What does his home mean? Wife. How many letters does it take to spell wife? 4 Hebrew letters. Ishto. So why did the Torah have to write home? And then the oral Torah has to come and explain that it means wife. If it would have taken the same exact amount of ink, if the Torah would have written straight away that it means wife.
Because there's no home without a wife.
If we don't know what it means to atone for your home, it can mean thousands of different things. Anyone can come up with a commentary. We need the oral Torah to tell us what it means. So if it was written briefly and the oral Torah is coming to elaborate, I understand. Torah wants to be written briefly. But if it's going to be the same exact amount of ink, why couldn't the written Torah just make it clear? And we wouldn't need to come to commentary from the oral Torah what that means. We'll take some questions and then we'll continue with the fascinating explanation. David, what did you want to ask?
The Holy of Holies. We know its exact location, right?
Let's say.
Let's say. Then it's still the Holy of Holies.
Absolutely.
So no matter who occupies the land,
100%. It remains to be the Holy of Holies. As a matter of fact, for that reason, according to most authorities, it is forbidden to go up to Temple Mount today, since it maintains its holiness, and there's lots of laws, very, very complicated laws, of how a person can purify himself in order to enter to the Holy of Holies. And therefore the Temple Mount, because it contains the Holy of Holies somewhere there, which we don't know not necessarily exactly, do we know where it is on Temple Mount. Therefore, many authorities say to refrain from going near Temple of the Mount because of its holiness. Yeah, that's the answer to your question. The Holy of Holies, the Talmud tells us, the Shekhinah, God's presence, never left from the Holy of Holies. Yeah. There's actually clear verses that indicate, that spell that out, that the Kedusha, the holiness, remains to be there.
You said once that the Mishnah and the Talmud were based on fragments that were brought together, or was it more hearsay?
It was oral. It was orally.
So it's hearsay.
Yeah, it was orally taught from sage to sage through the rabbis, and at the time of Rabbi Yehuda Anasi, about 40 generations after the Torah was given, he decided to write it down. The time required.
The written word carries more weight than the hearsay word. Would you say, or would you say not?
No, it's the same weight. When God gave the Torah, he gave it in 2 parts. He gave it partly written, okay, and at the same time he gave it orally. Okay. Eliezer, any questions?
Yeah, actually.
Yes.
Learning.
You speak up.
Huh? No, this is this week's Torah portion. This week's Torah portion.
No. Why are we learning?
That's a great question. That's an awesome question. We're going to get to that right now.
About wives and marriage and that,
Eliezer asked an incredible question. As soon as we continue the class, we're going to get to Eliezer's question. Charlie, any questions? He asked what's the relevance of
Why
the.
are we learning about Kohen? You know, we won't be able to do anything.
We don't have the paraduma to be pure to, yeah.
Okay, so to answer Eliezer's question, and to answer the question we're discussing here, we'll introduce an incredible, puzzling, we can say, statement that's brought in the stories of the Talmud. Where are you holding it now in Yaakov?
This guy.
Shabbos. So it's in the tract that you're holding now. It's later. Which parak are you holding? Oh, so you probably already did it. Rabbi Yossi, he was one of the Amoraim. He lists a number of special behaviors, challenging behaviors that he did, that he performed, that he teaching people to follow and taking credit for it, so to speak. Special things that he achieved, special things that he lived by. And among those things, we find something that doesn't seem to be very lesson oriented. It seems to be just a very factual matter, a matter of language. Rabbi Yossi says, Miyamai. Miyamai is an expression of ever since, from the beginning, I have never referred to my wife as my wife. Rather, I have referred to her as my home. You learned that?
I just said that.
Now you said that?
Yes.
I didn't hear you saying it. But
When you
incredible.
said- wait. You said 4 letters in
We're no longer
home.
near that.
Yeah.
4 letters in wife. And I said, you don't have a home without a wife.
Correct. Yeah.
So he says the same thing.
But he says that he never
referred to his
wife as wife. He always referred to her as home.
as home. What I just said.
Yeah, okay.
I
So this
gotta
is-
get a yarmulke and become a rabbi.
And incredible, David. You're doing well. You're doing very well. So this is in the Talmud. What is the lesson from this way of speaking of Rabbi Yossi? Rabbi Yossi is the rabbi who teaches us this message, which we're going to have to figure out what exactly is this message. What is the message from referring to his wife as home? So, yeah, you passed this in? Yes. Huf Yud Ches.
Ishto and Beito, the same gematria?
No, I don't know necessarily. Interesting. See, if the Ein Yaakov class is not there, it for sure is in Yaakov. Yeah? I think there are mentions in Yaakov there. So, what is the lesson? What is the lesson from referring to Rabbi Yossi, referring to his wife as his home? So, the details in this case is talking about his wife and his home, but we're going to learn, as Eliezer was asking, Rabbi Yossi is teaching us a perspective on life. He's teaching us a way of life. Rabbi Yossi's colleagues, his own friends, his own rabbis, didn't hold at his level, not necessarily.
This is
The level, Rabbi Yossi, no, different. They weren't holding at his level as referring to their wife as home. What was the significance of referring to his wife as his home? When we look at something, we can look at it face value, look at it as what it is, or we can look at it and see what will come out of it. Who is a wise man? That's one interpretation, very good. One aspect. Another saying of our sages is, a wise man is someone who sees the future. What does that mean, who sees the future? Everyone can guess what the future will be. Everyone can figure out, in many cases, can figure out what will happen. If I do this, X and X will happen. There's going to be the following consequence. So, That is a wise man. That is anyone can figure that out. A wise man is someone who sees the future. What does it mean he sees the future? He doesn't just understand in a theoretical way what will happen if he does X and X. Rather, he sees that reality in front of him. I'll give you an example. A doctor, someone who studies medicine, is a lot more likely, not necessarily, but could be a lot more likely to refrain himself from unhealthy foods, dangerous foods. Why is that? Because he's much more conscious and much more aware of the result of eating those foods. So in that sense, he's wise. He sees this food, and instead of seeing this delicious food that tastes good for the taste buds, he sees the diseases that it can cause. He's aware of the outcome. And that's how he can refrain himself from eating that, because he sees in a very visual way, doesn't just know as a concept. Everyone learned in school that these and these foods can cause these and these diseases. He actually knows what those diseases are, he knows how they develop, and therefore he sees that reality in front of him. Instead of seeing a sweet food, he sees a dangerous poison. That is what a wise man means. He sees the future.
The
Why does
intrinsic value of the thing?
the
Intrinsic value of the thing.
Okay, good. The purpose of marriage is because God says, I want to settle this world. The purpose of marriage is to have children and to settle the world. Rabbi Yossi, he approached life, he saw the value, the outcome of whatever it was. And therefore, he didn't look at his wife as anything he encountered, in this case, at his wife, as a simple thing, oh, this is just what we do, and etc. He right away saw the tremendous value that a lady has, the tremendous pride that a lady has to be a mother, to bring children. That is what he saw. Similarly, that's about his wife. Another example that he brings, his ox. He didn't see an ox. In an ox, he saw a ready grown field. He saw the value that the ox can produce. And this is a very high standard of life, that you see the essential value of whatever you encounter. You don't get stuck with the superficial, with the first impression that life brings in front of you. You always manage to sail down to reach and to get to the most essential matter of whatever it is.
Who chose the high priest's wife?
He did, like always. A person,
Me too.
the Torah way is that a person.
Our friend over here chose the high life too.
Which is the first shidduch in the Torah?
You need new friends.
Even so, it's even from the first shidduch in the Torah, we learned that it has to be with the consent of both parties. So here we have the message of Rabbi Yossi. What is he telling us? You encounter something in life, realize where it's taking you to. Realize where you're going. Don't get lost with the way it looks and the way it appears in first value, in first impression. Realize the ultimate value, realize the purpose. This is a very high standard, and even the high priest was not required to live by the standard every day. One time a year he was required. Yom Kippur. And that's why he needed to have a wife, but not just a wife like everyone else has. He needed to have a wife the way Rabbi Yossi teaches us. A wife that he referred to as home. He needed to come to this reality that he saw God's presence in whatever it was. He needed to come to this state of being that he didn't see things the way they look. He saw things the way they truly are. He saw the ultimate goal and the ultimate purpose. And that's why...
Their value. He gave them a value. The ox has a value.
Yeah. He saw everything. Correct.
And then he judged them accordingly to their value.
He saw everything in its truest value, in the power that, in the potential, the godly spark that is inside of everything. That is what he lived with on this high day, this holy day. That's where the high priest had to be. And again, this is specifically on this day. Not every day necessarily was he holding at that level to refer to his wife as his home. This is unique for this day. And that's why on this day, whatever he did, even things that were not connected to Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur was a regular day. There was a regular day, daily service in the Holy Temple. Yom Kippur added on the regular day's holy service. It was an addition. It wasn't instead of the regular structure. And whatever he did on that day had to be on this level. Why? Because he reached to a different reality. He was holding at a different state of being, and therefore it affected whatever he touched. Whatever he did then. Whoever it was, the high priest. It wasn't a technical thing on that day when he came to do the specific things that needed to be done on that day, he did them. No. His whole reality was different that day. It was an essential reality that he was connecting to. And an essential reality is not limited. So whatever he did that day was affected by this state of being.
So could
and
you
that's
not
why
if he went in without a wife?
we wouldn't be able to go in. They would have to get a different priest that was married and make him into high priest. That's the message we have from the first opening statement of the Mishnah. What's the message of Yom Kippur? What's the message of the high priest? At least once a year, elevate yourself, come to this reality where you see the intrinsic value of what you're encountering. Don't live a superficial life, get stuck on bubblegum and get stuck on whatever is in your way. Excel, come to this point that you see God's presence in whatever you encounter. And that will obviously eliminate any opposition. Any challenges are going to fall apart in front of God's presence. If we see God's presence in whatever we encounter, we won't see any opposition to God. Opposition to God is only when we don't see God's presence. That's when we can have opposition to God. If we can reach that point that we realize the essential truth of whatever it is, which is God's presence, God's reality, we're going to be different people. And that's the message of the first Mishnah. The first statement in the tractate of Yom Kippur tells us what completes the holiest man and the holiest day and the holiest place when he refers to his wife as his home. When he realizes the true value of his wife, the true value of whatever he encounters. The last Mishnah, Rabbi Akiva teaches us an incredible, incredible lesson. So far we learned that on the day of Yom Kippur, the high priest on the Holy of Holies, there's one special day that a person can tap into this essential reality. It's a reality that's difficult to reach. And it's one time of the year that the air is different, the environment is different. There's just something that we breathe that just brings us closer to God. Rabbi Akiva comes and teaches us, guys, I want you to realize, I want to bring you, Tishrei, beginning of the year, I want to bring you to an even greater reality. So far you think that there's one time in the year that you have that ability to connect to this essential state of being. I want you to know that that's a mistake. It's not just one time a year. If I would ask you, Eliezer, what is the holiest place, the holiest time, and the holiest person? What would you answer?
You're asking him.
Eliezer.
Oh, wouldn't that be up here?
What do you mean?
I mean, there's in Turkey also, they ask like, what's the most important thing? Like a good eye, a good heart, or a good head, right?
Yeah.
So wouldn't that be holy too?
Okay. But again, what's the holiest, the peak, the holiest time, holiest place, and holiest person?
It's not the Kohen.
Oh, okay, you mean the answer that you want.
No, I want to hear what you think.
Well, I would think that it has to do with the body.
What do you mean the body? Who's
You
right now the holiest?
Right? You have
Who's
the trunk,
right now? Yeah.
right? And it's inside the body, right?
Yes.
So you're taking a holy thing, you're putting it into a not so holy thing, right? So there you go. You have this
There we went.
piece of God inside you, and that's the holy thing, and the body is the temple, right?
So the body is the holiest thing now.
No, the body, holds the soul, which is the holiest thing.
And what's the holiest time?
The holiest time? That's actually a good question, Rabbi.
Okay.
That's the Yom Kippur.
The
Okay.
holiest time.
Charlie says Yom Kippur. What do you say is the holiest time?
You asked me for my opinion.
I very good. I'm hearing everyone's opinion. No.
It's Iyar? Can't they have Iyar?
No, Tishrei.
Of Tishrei.
David,
That's
what-
the 7th month Tishrei?
The 7th month counting from Nisan. Yeah. What do you think was the holiest time?
Right now.
Okay.
Wait, give me the other two questions.
The holiest person, holiest time, and holiest place. You think the
The
holiest time?
holiest place is where you are right now. The holiest time is now. The holiest person is your potential
David.
to become one with God,
Very good.
which is here and now.
We don't have the
So-
inside of us, do you?
Of course we do.
We do.
So Eliezer, David is supporting you. You said the holiest thing is the neshama. So very good. I guess we're
wrong and we're getting thrown
One of the answers right in front of you.
no.
The
So
holiest person.
so
There you go.
my great grandfather, he would often ask this question. And what most people would answer, I think David is educated. He's learned lots of Chassidus, lots of the inner meaning of the Torah in our classes. But typically, what a person would answer is holiest time, Yom Kippur.
No.
Holiest place, typically what a person would answer, holiest place is the Holy of Holies. So, right? We spoke about that, Jerusalem. And the holiest person is the high priest. That's typically, so if we want to find the peak of all holinesses, is the high priest on Yom Kippur in the Holy of Holies.
No,
But we'll soon see the way my grandfather responded. But either way, Rabbi Akiva comes and says,
Wait,
"You have
what did
one second.
Great
We'll talk about it in that." Rabbi Akiva says, "You have a mistake. If you think atonement is only on Yom Kippur, you got it wrong. Fortunate are you, Israel, that who purifies you? God purifies you." What is the message? Rabbi Akiva comes and says, connection to God can be achieved on a regular, simple Tuesday. You don't need Yom Kippur to achieve a connection to God.
Oh yeah. We have
And-
a story like that. Very
Rab-
interesting story. You would like it, David.
One second, we'll finish this point. Rabbi Akiva then comes and brings two proofs. One proof is God says, this is in the Navi Ezekiel, is that how it's pronounced in English? Yecheskel?
Ezekiel.
Ezekiel, yeah.
He says
Gold star.
that
I've been learning.
God says, I will throw on you the pure water and make you pure. When is that verse referring to? Not Yom Kippur. That's a verse, God says it, at the time the Mashiach will come, even though the Jewish people will not necessarily be worthy. Yet God says, I'm going to splash those pure waters on you. So we see, even not on Yom Kippur, a person, even if he's a sinner, God says, I'm still connected to him.
In Yecheskel.
In Yecheskel, Ezekiel tells us, I'm still connected to you, God says. Even though you're not worthy, you're my children. You're my children, you're connected to me, I will purify you. And then he brings another source from Yirmiyah, where Yirmiyah teaches us that God is like a mikvah for the Jewish people. Why does he bring that second source? The source from Ezekiel, from Yechezkel, tells us what God will do when Mashiach will come. When Mashiach will come, it was a special time. Who says that applies at all times? Maybe only when Mashiach comes, that's when God says, I'm going to recognize you as my children. So therefore, in the meantime, we don't have any hope. Therefore, Rabbi Akiva comes and says, no, don't get it wrong. God says, I am your mikvah, not connected to the time when Mashiach comes. At any given moment, I'm your mikvah. And that teaches us that the purity, the connection, the essential connection we have with God is there at all times. It's not limited to an auspicious moment. It's not limited to Yom Kippur. And we'll finish off with an incredible lesson. Incredible lesson in Rabbi Akiva's words. Rabbi Akiva says, just as a mikvah purifies those who are impure. What does it mean a mikvah purifies those who are impure? A mikvah makes people pure. What does it mean, those who are impure? There is a very, very unique ruling. What can make a person impure? A number of stuff can make a person impure. If a person touches a dead body, that's one kind of impurity. There's another kind of impurity that can come for simpler, easier stuff. Impurities that come and they can be removed by immersing in the mikvah. If a person touches a dead body, it's not enough to immerse in the mikvah. He needs to be sprayed on with special pure water.
I have a question.
Just a moment. But for other impurities, it's enough to immerse in the mikvah. You don't need the special water to be sprayed at you. What happens if a person is impure, let's say by touching a dead insect, an insect? That's one way of getting impure. That, it's enough to immerse in a mikvah. And he also touched a dead body. Is there any value in him going to mikvah? The mikvah is not going to make him pure from his severe impurity. His severe impurity, the mikvah, tumat med, won't help him. The Torah tells us, still go to the mikvah. No, still go to the mikvah. Even though it's only going to make you pure partially, still go for it. It's still worth it. Even though you're going to remain impure. Rabbi Akiva comes and tells us, God is essentially connected to you. Even when a person is not ready to do a full return to God. A person turns to God and he says, God, I did so many things wrong. I don't have energy, and therefore I don't have time to return to you. I have a few free minutes. I just have a few minutes, and I'm willing to confess, I'm willing to regret particular sins that are very pressing on me. Everything else I'm not willing to work on.
He doesn't have the will.
Doesn't have the will, doesn't have the energy. I did so many things that are wrong. There's one thing that I feel very bad about. Usually a person says, what is God going to do to such a request? He's going to throw me out. You want to come repent only for one thing you did? It's a package deal. Rabbi Akiva says, no, absolutely not true. Fortunate are you, Israel. God is like your mikvah. Not only does God spray the water on you that's going to return you fully home, even before the Geula comes, even in your dark moment, that you're covered with sin, and you're only willing to give a few minutes to God to repent for one particular sin that's really bothering you, God is going to welcome you to do tshuva for that one sin. Take those few free minutes and give them to God. God is going to embrace those few minutes. God is going to embrace you even though you're only willing to return on a particular sin you did. And God will help us through when we take that one little step. Give God just those few minutes. God will help us continue coming closer to Him. One mitzvah will lead to another mitzvah, and to another mitzvah, and to the point we'll reach complete purity. And we'll see our essential connection to God, which is active and true at all times and all places. We'll finish off with the story with my great-grandfather. David actually pinned it. My grandfather would tell those people, wrong. The holiest time is right now. Exactly as David said it. I'm even suspecting that maybe I mentioned it in the past.
Keep trying though. I'll make a rabbi out of you yet.
He would tell them the holiest time is right now, the holiest place is right here, and the holiest person is you. God created you, God created now, and God created here. And if God created all of those three, that is the most important thing. Overcome the challenge that you're facing at this very moment, independently of what happened yesterday, independently of what will happen tomorrow. This moment is what God is valuing right now. Return to God right now, for right here and for right now. Don't worry about everything else now. That is the most important mission you have. And God will help us correct the past and set us up for the future. May we speedily come to the time that we'll be fully conscious and aware of our essential connection with God. May that be speedily today, here, and now. Thank you, everyone, for joining.
Which were the two Parashiyot?
No, we had that